Wack 100 just dropped a bomb that could flip Boosie's whole legacy on its head. He's saying that Boosie actually framed Marlo Mike, the young dude who was once deep in Boosie's crew and known on the streets as a teenage hitman. Wack's claim that Boosie might have been the one behind the hit himself and used Marlo as the fall guy to dodge heat and keep his rap career clean. The paperwork Wack is talking about shows some wild stuff, like how Marlo Mike may have been manipulated or even set up to take the rap for some real dirty work tied to Boosie's circle. If all this is true, it ain't just shady. It could straight up rewrite the whole story behind Boosie's legal mess and street image. Then came the moment that shook the streets, a recorded confession from a quiet kid named Michael Marlo Mike. Calm voice, no emotion, but what he said was loud and clear. He told detectives that Lil Boosie gave him $2,800 to take out Terry Boyd. Just like that, Boosie's name jumped from rap blogs to front-page murder cases, and the feds jumped on it like hawks. That one tape was everything prosecutors needed: a motive, a shooter, and a link straight to one of Baton Rouge's most feared names in hip-hop. They even had phone records showing Marlo posted up near Boosie's studio and a stomach tattoo that read, "Yo, Boosie, who's next?" It was looking real bad for him, like his whole career might end in a cell. But here's where it gets twisty. That taped confession, it didn't stay solid for long. Later on, Marlo Mike took it all back. He said the cops were pressuring him hard, using fear tactics to break him down. According to Marlo, they straight up threatened to lock up his family if he didn't point the finger at Boosie in court. That's when he flipped the whole script. Said Boosie never gave him a dime, never told him to handle anything. In his words, the DA just wanted Boosie's head, and he ended up caught in the middle of a dirty game. And the craziest part, Boosie was never placed at the crime scene. No witnesses saw him, no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing physically tying him to the house where Terry Boyd was murdered. That cloud of doubt was just enough to sway the jury back in 2012. Boosie walked out the courtroom a free man, not guilty. But Wack 100 ain't letting this slide. He says that so-called confession ain't the full truth, not even close. He claims this whole thing was way deeper, all about manipulation, hidden motives, and backdoor deals. According to Wack, Marlo Mike wasn't the mastermind. He was just a pawn in a way bigger game meant to protect the real players and sacrifice the small ones. And that tape confession, Wack says, is just one loud, messy piece of a major setup. This moment dragged Boosie headfirst into the legal system, slapped his name through the mud, and had the public questioning everything. The real question still hanging in the air: was Marlo's confession real, or was he sacrificed to keep a superstar's name clean? Wack 100 still pushing the issue. He's now claiming Boosie let Marlo Mike crash out over a hit Boosie called himself, and now Wack says sealed court files are starting to pop up, documents that never saw the light of day and were never meant to, seen in court. And if Wack 100's right, what's in those sealed files could flip everything we thought we knew. So how did Boosie walk free while Marlo Mike got slammed with a life sentence? Wack says Marlo didn't confess out of guilt. He was boxed in by the law and street pressure. According to Wack, Marlo Mike got pushed into protecting Boosie, maybe without even fully understanding he was the one taking the fall. Now here's where the streets start to connect the dots. You've probably heard the whispers. People always suspected Boosie played a bigger role than he ever admitted. But Wack ain't calling it a rumor anymore. He's saying it was all part of the plan. According to him, Boosie didn't just lay low. He moved like a chess master. Every bar in his lyrics, every slick move from his legal team, and that whole real one image. Wack says it was all calculated to steer clear of death row. But the streets, they weren't fooled. Not for a second, if you believe Wack. Folks out there always felt like they knew the real story. And now, these sealed court documents might finally prove what's been whispered for years. Wack's painting a bold picture. He's saying Boosie knowingly sacrificed Marlo Mike just to keep his own name clean. But to really understand how this whole storm started, you gotta rewind back to that deadly night, October 20th, 2009. Terry Boyd was just chilling at his sister's crib in Baton Rouge, fresh out of prison, trying to stay off the radar. But right after 1 a.m., boom, someone let off at least 6 shots through the window from outside. Boyd didn't even get a chance to react. The hit was fast, brutal, and cold-blooded. Two figures were seen sprinting off into the dark. No faces, just shadows disappearing into the night. This was the same hit that Marlo Mike confessed to, the one where he claimed Boosie paid him $2,800 to pull the trigger. But here's where it starts getting deeper. The motive started bubbling up from the streets. Word was, Boosie was scared of Terry Boyd. Rumors said Boyd was plotting to jack him and humiliate him in front of everyone. They called it a jack and slap, a straight-up disrespect move that could have shattered Boosie's street image completely. And if you believe Wack 100's side of the story, Boosie didn't just react out of fear. He made a cold decision to protect his name and send a message loud and clear. That same theory, prosecutors loved it. They ran with it in court, claiming Boosie ordered the hit because he was paranoid, prideful, and scared his rep was on the line. But depending who you ask, Boyd wasn't just beefing with Boosie. He had enemies all over Baton Rouge. Still, somehow, all the heat landed on Boosie. Despite the chaos, Boosie walked out clean. And Marlo Mike, he got buried under a life sentence with no chance at parole. But what Wack 100 is really shouting about is the system itself. He says the justice system ain't blind, it's bought. Boosie had money, fame, power lawyers, and in the end, it was a scared teenager who took the whole weight. After Boosie beat the case in 2012, he didn't just slide back into rap, he came back loud. He even hopped on tracks mocking the case, talking slick, and boosting his street rep even higher. The way Boosie moved after court, like that murder trial, was just a speed bump, but real ones know that case never truly left his shadow. Even with that not guilty verdict stamped on paper, the weight of that murder still clings to Boosie's name. Court might have cleared him, but the streets, they don't forget nothing. Meanwhile, Marlo Mike is still sitting in Angola, doing life behind bars, no studio, no freedom, no comeback, no spotlight, just silence and steel. And let's not forget Terry Boyd's family. While everyone else moved on, they've been stuck with the real pain, living with that loss every single day. That's why Wack 100 refuses to back off. He's been shouting for a long time now. This case needs another look. From Wack's angle, it wasn't justice. It was a game, a mix of strategy, fame, and money that let Boosie slide through clean while Marlo carried all the dirt. Wack says, if you really know the streets and how the system plays, then you already know this whole outcome don't sit right. Especially when you look at Boosie's record since then. It ain't been spotless. His name's been tied to trouble over and over. So for Wack 100, this ain't about one case. It's about a pattern, a long-running one where Boosie stays one step ahead while the people around him take all the hits. Zoom out, and the Terry Boyd situation looks like just one move in a whole playbook. A playbook that's helped Boosie keep his hands clean while others crash out. Let's talk facts. Before Boyd even got touched, Boosie already had heat with the law. Back in 2008, cops pulled him over and found weed and a Glock in the car. By 2009, Boosie had already pled guilty to a few charges, stuff that should have had him locked down for real, but somehow it didn't stop there. Between 2009 and 2012, his name just kept popping up in the system. More drug charges, conspiracy talk, the whole nine. He ended up doing 5 years, but let's not forget, that was all while a murder case was simmering in the background. Then in 2010, things exploded. He got indicted for allegedly putting out a hit on Terry Boyd, with claims he paid Marlo Mike to do it. The whole case smelled like street politics from the jump. Still, Boosie managed to walk in 2012, beat the case, clean slate, at least on paper. Now fast forward to today, and Boosie's still out here playing with fire. Since 2023, he's been caught with multiple firearms, and this ain't no rumor, it's public record. In May 2023, police pulled him over and found 2 loaded handguns in the whip. Then in July, he got picked up again, this time right outside a courthouse. And if that wasn't enough, in 2024, new charges dropped, this time tied to moving guns across state lines and drug possession. If convicted, he's staring down a possible 10-year bid. But here's where it gets wild. Wack 100 keeps pointing out that Boosie somehow beat another Fed case in July 2024 thanks to a brand new Ninth Circuit ruling. And guess what? Boosie just happened to be the first one to benefit from it. So if you're Wack 100, watching Boosie beat a murder rap, skate on gun charges, and walk free while everyone else around him crumbles, of course you're gonna keep talking. From Wack's point of view, Boosie's whole empire ain't built on music. It's built on surviving stuff that most people never make it out of. It's got people asking the real questions. Who's protecting Boosie and why? Wack 100's tone might come off strong, but when you line up the timeline, Boosie don't look just lucky, he looks untouchable. And that's exactly what's got folks uneasy. But this ain't just about Boosie anymore. His case is part of a much bigger pattern, where major artists in the US get wrapped up in violent crime cases and somehow keep walking away untouched. Zoom out and it starts to look less like coincidence and more like a blueprint. Take Snoop Dogg, for example. Back in the early 90s, he was on trial for red rum after a gang member was shot and killed in LA. Prosecutors tried to stick him with first and second degree murder charges, leaning hard on his street ties and the gang energy around his image. But when it came time for the jury to decide, they weren't sold. Snoop walked out free, while some smaller charges hung in the air. The murder rap didn't stick. That trial showed the world how shaky gang-linked charges can get when the defendants got fame, money, and a good team behind them. Now jump to the present, the YSL trial. It's still fresh in everybody's memory. Young Thug and his crew got hit with a massive RICO case. The prosecutors said YSL wasn't just a label. It was a violent gang behind multiple bodies. The courtroom turned into a circus. Lyrics used like confessions, witnesses lined up, everything twisted to build that gang story. But even with all that heat, not everybody got burned. Some walked free, and while Young Thug ended up taking a plea on gang charges, he dodged a murder conviction. So when Wack 100 looks at Boosie's history, it ain't just personal. He's pointing at a whole trend. Sound familiar? Just like Boosie's case, it shows how blurry that line really is between a rap image and real-life charges. And how hard it is for the system to make those allegations stick, especially when fame's involved. But not every rapper slips through the cracks. Look at Big Lurch. Now his case took a way darker turn. Back in 1999, he went completely off the rails, murdered his roommate during a PCP-fueled psychotic breakdown. It was brutal, savage, and had nothing to do with typical rap beef. He tried claiming insanity in court, but the judge wasn't buying it. There was too much raw evidence, and unlike Boosie or Snoop, there was no escaping it. Big Lurch got slapped with life without parole, done for good. Then there's more recent heat, like CTS Lou Wick. Dude was charged with first-degree murder, but claimed it was all self-defense. The case blew up, grabbing national headlines because of the stakes. When it wrapped, Lou Wick beat the case. Not guilty, another win in court just like Boosie, where serious charges fell apart once the trial hit the spotlight. Despite all the public pressure, the system couldn't make it stick. What ties all these cases together? The way prosecutors lean heavy on rap lyrics, street ties, and reputations. They tried turning rap itself into the weapon, breaking down verses, pointing at tattoos, calling rappers gang bosses instead of artists. Every lyric became a line of evidence, every image another red flag. But here's the twist. Talking hard on a track ain't the same as proving guilt in court. Just because it sounds like a confession doesn't make it legal proof. And time after time, that strategy proves shaky. Boosie's story is the perfect example of where hip-hop street cred crashes into the justice system. He's faced heavy accusations, everything from red rum to serious federal gun cases. Some charges stuck for a bit, but others crumbled once they got hit with real courtroom pressure. Just like with Snoop and a few others, it was that mix of fame, strong legal defense, and shaky evidence that kept Boosie from going down. At least for now. That's exactly why someone like Wack 100 won't stop mentioning Boosie's name. To Wack, it's deeper than the charges. It's about who's really playing the game and who's getting played. It's about politics, street loyalty, and how real people are moving behind the scenes. And when a rapper walks out clean from multiple cases, especially ones that involve guns and bodies, without major consequences, Wack ain't just raising an eyebrow, he's sounding the alarm. To him, that kind of track record smells like one of two things: serious protection or serious cooperation. Either way, Boosie stays locked in Wack's crosshairs. But here's the real bottom line. Boosie ain't an outlier. He's part of a whole lineup of rappers who've danced with the law and walked away still shining. For some in the culture, that's a badge of honor. But for others, like Wack, it's a straight-up red flag. And while we're talking about controversial courtroom escapes, you gotta bring up Diddy. He faced charges so heavy they could have ended everything. No more spotlight, no more freedom. But when it came down to that final verdict, Diddy beat the worst of it. The jury cleared him on the charges that could have had him locked away forever. Just like that, another rap heavyweight walked away from a legal nightmare. Just like Boosie, Diddy beat the biggest charges, the ones that could have wiped him clean off the map. And just like Boosie, that outcome split people right down the middle. Some say it's just proof that with the right lawyers and enough fame, the system can tilt in your favor. And let's not forget, Boosie walked away from a murder charge tied to the killing of Terry Boyd, while Diddy dodged serious organized crime and trafficking accusations. These weren't minor charges. They were career-ending, life-sentencing accusations. Both men faced trials that tried to stamp them as full-blown criminals. And yet, when it was all said and done, they walked free from the worst of it, leaving prosecutors standing there with cases that fell apart before the finish line. That's exactly why Wack 100 keeps talking. He's looking at Boosie, Diddy, Young Thug, CTS Lou Wick, and he's asking what everyone is low-key wondering. What's really going on behind the scenes? Are these guys just lucky? Are they protected? Or is it all about power, privilege, and politics? Whatever the truth is, one thing's crystal clear. When hip-hop and the justice system collide, the story is never simple. If you've been rocking with us through all this drama, make sure to like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's next. We're just getting started with these breakdowns. See you on the next one.